Hello, today we've got a upper mid-grade copy of Amazing Spider-Man 48 that I was able to pick up at a good price. And so I've already done a couple of these in this series, but this one is so nice I just had to add it in and do another video. I'm going to use my point-based system again, and if you're interested in what that is, I have a grading sheet here, and then we have a computer Excel file as well that I use in Google Sheets. So I'll put a link in the description and above if you want to check that out. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to grade each area of this book. There's about 7 areas, and we go through each one by one, and then we let the point-based system just accumulate a ballpark grade for us, and then we use a reality check and do our own assessment of it, and just kind of come to our own, I guess, what you would call consensus within ourselves grade before we send this off with a Silver Age submission, just to calibrate the point-based system a little bit better once those books come back. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we look at is Bindery. And just first off here, I don't see any kind of Bindery tears or anything. Everything looks centered. If I'm not seeing anything, we're going to leave that blank for now. This corner is dinged here, little ding here. This bottom right corner has a little ding to it. Top one, it's fairly sharp, decent. Let's just look at the back real quick. It's a fairly sharp corner. That one's got a slight little ding to it. So based on what I'm seeing with this moderate blunting here and up here as well, I think we're going to have to just go with the low end of moderate or the high end of minor. Maybe I'll just go the high end of minor on this, and what we'll do is we'll click minor and just click the rest of these as well. Now we'll look at the edges, and first we'll start with the bottom edge here. Looking pretty good. Maybe the tiniest of little ding there and there. Maybe there as well. Just some light wear, I would call that, rather than dings. A little bit of marble chipping here on the right side. Looking good otherwise. It's okay, so we're very minor on the edges so far. I'm going to stick with that term minor, unless there's something on the back like a tear or major dings or something. More marble chipping on this edge, which doesn't really count too much against you, because so many books have that of this age. So we're on a minor on the edge here, which is nice. And now we'll look at the spine. Spine is very nice on this book. There's a moderate tick here, but then some minor ticks that break color, a couple up here. So I think this is a little bit too much to be considered minor. Still a very nice spine though. I'm gonna have to go moderate on this spine. I think this is a pretty easy one to figure out, but it still presents extremely nicely. We got the one here and one here, but comparatively speaking, you don't see many Silver Age books with spines this good. I would say, based on my limited experience looking at these, but looking at a lot online, I would say maybe 1 in 50 books have a spine this nice. If not even less frequent than that. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at the staples on this book. I've kind of already looked at them a little bit. They look centered. They look like the original staples. They're very tight on the book. And let's just turn to the center real quick. Should be about page 13. There's 15. Okay, I think we're there. Yep. 13 and 14. Spine, the staples have a slight loss of gloss, but you know, they look really good. I think we can go tiny on the staples, or even negligible on the staples. The cover is very nice on this book. There's some crinkling here that does not break color. Wow, this is a nice cover. I'm not seeing even a lot of handling where this book was very well cared for. Okay, yeah. Don't see many this nice. It's hard to find a book that presents better than this one. This is a beautiful book. Look at that. This is extremely nice. I'm going to enjoy this one. Yeah, okay. So, man, there's really nothing going on here on this cover. I mean, we have this crinkling here, so that's going to get us to minor, but I think that could be pressed. Yeah, I'm going to go with minor. We might get to negligible, which is extremely rare on a book of this age. pages we kind of looked at a little bit already. Let's just make sure nothing's missing or anything crazy isn't going on here. I do see a spine stress here on a staple, so let's see what we had on staples. I'm going to go to tiny on staples now that I see that. Okay, what I'm seeing here, and I forgot to mention, is a guy stamped his name inside this book, the owner of this book. I actually bought this from the original owner, I think, of this book, because that's the name of the guy I think I bought it from. So it's a little unfortunate that he stamped his name, but I do not think on the inside of the book it does count against, but not as much as people think it counts, because it doesn't affect story. And it's actually pretty common to have writing from stores and things like that inside and on books of this age. It's definitely counting, but it's not like going to get us to like major. The name is here again twice, but the actual pages are excellent on this book. Excellent. There's a little bit of off-white, I guess, is what I would call this. So I think this would be like a tiny otherwise, but I think that name in there is going to get us to minor. We could definitely err on the side of moderate on that, though. I'm just going to err on the side of moderate. I don't think a grader is going to get worse than that, though. But I'm going to err on that, and I think we're just going to have to stick with moderate and just hopefully be pleasantly surprised. But I'm going to stick with moderate on that because I'm not 100% sure. I've read some boards and what people's assessment on books. People have had writing on the inside of the books where people wrote their name and still got 9.4s and 6s. So it can't count too much against the book, right? Now I'm just going to go up from tiny to moderate on that, just to err on the safe side. So what we do now is I'll give a ballpark grade of my own assessment, and then we'll plug all these values into the Excel sheet, and then we'll kind of come to my own consensus between the sheet and my own evaluation, and then just kind of just put a number on it. And when we send it off to CGC and it comes back, we'll be able to recalibrate this and see how far off we were or whether we were spot on. So based on this cover, I almost want to use a subtractive process on this book, like a high grade book. So I think we're not taking much off. Maybe we get to a 9.6 because of this. Spine gets us maybe to 9.4, the low end of 9.4. Then the dings on the spine get us to 9.2. The tanning doesn't really hurt us at that grade. We have this little staple issue, maybe a couple dings on the edge, gets us probably maybe in the 9.2 to 9.2, I'm sorry, 9.0 to 9.2 range. And then the writing, maybe that gets us to 8.5 on this book. So I'm going to say 8.5 on this book as it sits. I think we could get an 8.5 if we send it in right now, which is exceptionally awesome, right? And I think after cleaning a press, we have an outside chance or a really good chance of 9.0 on this book. So I'm going to go with that. I don't think we're going to achieve 9.2. If we get graded harshly because of the writing on the inside, I could see this being an 8.5, maybe 8.0. It would be a shame, a crying shame, to rate this book 8.0. This is an awesome, this looks like a 9.2 right now as it sits. I mean, look at that. That is just an awesome book. So whatever it is, it is. But we'll stick with that. I'll be 8.5, 9.0. And then after a clean and press, I'm sorry, 8.5, and then after clean and press, 9.0. So let's see with the grading tool. I'm interested to see what it says on this. I haven't really tested it a lot as much with higher grade books, a little bit, but I've been working a lot more with mid and low grade books lately. So let's get on the computer and we'll see what we come up with. Okay, let's run this one through the tool now. We got between minor and moderate on the corners. Of course, we had nothing on the bindery. We have minor on the edges. We have moderate on the spine. We have tiny on the staples. We have minor on the cover. Okay, and we're moderate on the pages, and that's because we have the writing in there, and I actually think that could be more minor. But we're going to go with just moderate for now. We'll do a little reality check on this. So the tool thinks we're at 7.5 before press and clean. So let's just look at what we had. We had 8.5 in this book. And I think the reason is because we didn't harshly grade when we ballparked it as much on the words inside the book, the name inside the book. So that's probably where we're at here, and that's the difference. The tool thinks it's an 8.0 if we go minor on that. So we're at 24.5. That puts us at 7.5, more between 7.5 and even 7.0 on that. Okay, so the tool thinks it's 7.5. I think it's 8.5. So let's see if there's any reality checks, anything we need to look at on this book to maybe change our mind. I think we're good on corners. Feel pretty good about that. Edges, I think minor's pretty solid. Spine on this book. I had moderate on the spine. And that's because we had this couple ticks here. So I think maybe we could be somewhere between minor and moderate. Maybe we're the low end of moderate on that. Would be better. So I can go with that route. And then staples. I think we stick with what we have here, tiny. Cover. This cover was so nice. So nice. I have minor on the cover. I'm trying to think of anything on this cover that would even get us the minor. I think the thing is, it has the little bit of creasing on the top here that is pressable. So I think if we transfer the values over here, which I'm going to do, we can and use this right-hand side just to figure what this book could look like after press. So first I'm going to recreate it, and just remember that I think the cover can go to even negligible on that. Okay, so there we are. So we're at 8.0 according to this before press, and after press it's still 8.0. So let's see, well, look, what if we change that to minor on the pages? Okay, so that's the kicker on this. Is what is that writing going to, how's it going to impact the book? So I thought this book was an 8.5, 9.0 after clean and press. The tool thinks it's a 7.5. Let's just go with, because that's what we had initially, and then an 8.0 after press. So yeah, is it going to be an 8 or is it going to be a 9? Well, I think we just kind of use a consensus between the two. I'm not sure if I'm right, I'm not sure if the tool is right, but based on, I always err toward my own eyes and what I've seen in the past rather than the tool. So I still think this book has an outside chance of a 9.0. Or maybe a reasonably decent chance, like maybe 20% of the time or better. This could be a 9.0, but I'm just going to roll with a consensus between the tool and myself. And I'm going to say this book is an 8.0 now, and a potential 8.5 after clean and press, with that outside chance of 9.0. And but not surprised if it comes back an 8, not surprised if it comes back a 9, just depends on how harshly they grade the pages. Because I think if we just take that consideration off, and we just say there's no issue with the pages at all, let's say it's negligible. Well, the tool thinks we're 8.5 before and after a press. So we're very, very close to a 9.0 after clean and press. All it would take is just maybe somebody not thinking the edges are quite that harsh, you know. All it would take is something like that, like maybe the spine is just minor in their assessment. It wouldn't take much to get us to 9.0. That's why I think that outside chance is still there, but I'm pretty confident now in that 8.0 and 8.5. Even though this is an awesome looking book, it does have a couple things going for it. It doesn't have pristine corners, it doesn't have a pristine spine. So that's why I think maybe that 8.5 might be a good number for after clean and press. So I'm going to change it to 8.0, 8.5, and we'll see what happens. And then we'll revisit it once these books come back. So this is the last one right now I have in submission as far as our raw books. I do have some slab books that I'm going to assess in a separate video, and we'll see whether we want to crack those slabs and resubmit them with a clean and press, or do we want to just leave them in the slabs. So I tried to buy 4 or 5 slabs that had good potential, like they had some pressable defects still on them, or something to that, or they just looked like a 6.0 and they were a 5.0, or something like that. So I specifically purchased books at a good price that I thought for a lower grade than what I thought the potential might be. So I'll do that in a separate video. And but that's it for the raw books on this Silver Age submission. So if you haven't seen the other ones, go back and watch those, and you can watch all of them, and then we can, when these books come in, we'll do a reveal, and then we'll kind of do separate videos, maybe where we see where we went wrong, or maybe somewhere we could recalibrate this tool. So if you're interested again in this grading tool and maybe helping me make it better, please go to the description and check it out and let me know what you think. It's completely free. I'm not charging for this. It's a 1.0 version. And I just want to make grading easier for everybody. And that's kind of my whole goal in this. This is just a fun project for me. This is just something I do as a hobby in my spare time. That's all it is. I love doing this. I love grading comics. I love collecting comics. And I'm building my collection as we do this. So it's a win-win, right? So thanks for watching. Happy collecting.